All right. So sorry there. I don't know what happened with that silly this recording program there. But anyway, we'll get it all going. And yeah, what are we now? Week 7, and I'm doing the week 6 now, and I'll post the week 6 video as well as the week 7. I'll get on that, and the week 7 there's 3 chapters there that we're covering there, so it's kind of hectic. But I'm not going to spend a lot of blah 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 on this one here because I already did it. The audio, I'll post the audio as well. Maybe you might enjoy the audio. It goes into probably a little bit more detail because I'm not teaching it for this, I'm teaching it there for the first time. But anyway, let's get on with this here. Glad to have you aboard. Welcome to the muscle system. All right. We're going to look at the 3 types of muscle. Okay, we're going to compare the structure of the whole muscle against a single muscle fiber. Oh yeah, we're getting right down to the molecular level. And this is called the sliding filament theory. The whole idea that when a muscle contracts, by definition, contracting shortens. Well, it does so on the macro as well as the micro level. We'll show you this. The role of calcium and ATP, okay, in muscle contraction. We'll look at a whole bunch of stuff here. We'll welcome to a little bit of nerve and the whole idea that the nerve meets the muscle. That is what we call the neuromuscular junction. Yep, it's good stuff. Skeletal muscle. What I want you to know from skeletal is that it is striated. And this striation, when we get into something there called a sarcomere, okay, that's the functional molecular component of muscle, okay? But we'll get into that as well. What I want you to know from skeletal muscle is that it is voluntary. We have control over our skeletal muscle. It is very strong, but it is also short-lived. Okay, how many bicep curls can you really do? 20, 30 before you max out. All right, so that becomes important because smooth muscle, you see there's no striation. It's very, very different. Okay, and this is the muscle there for your esophagus, your stomach, your small intestine. You know the whole idea, you eat a banana and you don't see that banana for another 36 hours. Well, what was propelling that banana through your system? That's your smooth muscle. And it's kind of the exact opposite of skeletal. Okay? It is involuntary. All right? It is not strong. Doesn't have to be. Okay? We don't have control over that banana as soon as we swallow it. And the whole idea there that this muscle propels that banana through our digestive system, it doesn't have to have a huge amount of force. Okay? And fatigue is rare. So it doesn't really get tired. Okay? So it's the exact opposite of skeletal muscle. Okay? Smooth, skeletal, opposite. And then here we have kind of the combo of the two, cardiac muscle. You'll see that this is striated. So here we're talking about sarcomeres, okay? And I'll show you this there. Smooth muscle, no, it's a different system, okay? That will show you the sliding filament theory. It's different, it doesn't have to be strong. But you'll see here that the cardiac muscle, there's striation there. It is involuntary. We don't have control over our heartbeats. Okay, it is very strong, okay, and it lasts a long time, okay, so it's kind of a combination of skeletal and smooth, and I wanted to show you here that if you look at skeletal there, it's just kind of straight, with these bands going across, right? Cardiac, you'll see there, it kind of resembles skeletal, but then it's branched. Okay, you see how it's see what's going on here? And the reason why it's branched is, you think about it, they're your pacemaker. There's an electrical discharge every single heartbeat. And I'll show you this, it's coming. And there's our pacemaker, and it sends a electrical discharge. Okay, and it spreads through the entire heart. Well, how is that discharge going to spread to every cell of the heart if every cell of the heart is not connected? And you think about it, every heart cell is connected in some way, shape, or form to another heart cell, and that's how the electrical discharge moves. Okay, so you got skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. Good stuff. And a nice little overview here. Please pause the video and have a look at this, okay? I'm gonna try and I'll make this as short as I can, but please make sure to pause the video, read all this. It just gives you the nice little summary of the three, okay? The skeletal muscle cell is also a muscle fiber. Skeletal muscle fibers are formed by the fusion of multiple myoblasts. We'll get into those there later, okay? You've heard of hemoglobin? Well, muscles have their own quote-unquote blood, okay? It's not really, please don't ever think that muscles have their own blood system. No, what I meant was hemoglobin is in our blood, right? It carries oxygen. Muscles there, they have their own oxygen storage, and that's called myoglobin. We'll get there. We'll get there. They end up there with multiple nuclei, which are needed there to support protein synthesis there in large cells. There's your striation, right? And there's that beautiful word that we'll get to there, sarcomeres. Okay. Skeletal muscle cells do not undergo cell division, mitosis, okay, like body cells. Our skin, our nails, our hair, they're constantly dividing. Not so here with skeletal. They can stem cells there called satellite. Fibers are some of the longest in the body. When we get in there, you'll look at the sartorius. It stretches there from the hip all the way down to the tibia. It's a long one. Muscles there are held together by connective tissue. Okay, fascia. All right, you can actually see that there, and we'll show you there in a couple slides. Some fibers there contract quickly, like the digits in your hand, your finger. They can move very quickly, playing piano, violin. Others are not. And what I want you guys to think of there is think of a chicken. White meat and dark meat. Okay, the whole idea there, where is the white meat on the chicken? Where is the dark meat? Why is dark meat dark? Why is, okay, we'll get there, all right? Exercise can increase the thickness of muscle, but does not make more. The skeletal muscle has some defining characteristics. Multinucleated. You'll see it in here. Okay, multinucleated. Contains mitochondria. What do mitochondria make? Interesting. And it has these myofibrils and sarcomeres. Just a little bit of reminder there, muscles are attached to bone via tendon. Bone is attached to bone via ligament. Okay, just an important, and we'll see that there in the next slide anyway. Just a little bit of information here. Fingers move because of muscles in the forearm. So move your fingers and then feel your forearm. Of that same hand, you'll feel your forearm moving back and forth. That's because the muscles that move the finger are located elsewhere. A little bit of terminology here that you'll see in Two Shakes of a Lamb's Tail. You've got fascia. Okay, fiber. These one here, insertion and origin. Know these two as opposites. You know, a muscle there has two ends. Well, the origin end of that muscle does not move. It's anchored to a bone. Think of your bicep. It only moves in one direction. Okay? And the insertion is the movable end of a muscle. So a muscle will have an origin and an insertion. There's your ligament. Okay, that's bone to bone. There's tendon, that's bone to muscle. For movement, you're going to hear about a motor nerve. Motor means moving. So these are nerves that are involved with moving. Okay, nerves that stimulate contraction of muscle. Myofibril. Now we're getting into the microscopic. These are fibrils there in muscle cells. They contain myosin and actin, thick and thin filaments. Yes, you will have to know myosin is a thick filament. Actin is a thin filament. You're probably thinking, what is he talking about? It's all good. We're getting there. And these thick and thin filaments, they slide across each other. Okay, and that is what gives muscle contracts. It shortens because these little filaments, okay, they move across each other. Sarcoplasm related there to cytoplasm. You know, things got to move from one side of the cell to another, right? Sarcomere. These guys here are the two components of a sarcomere. We'll show you guys these, okay? The contractile unit of a myofibril. Here we're talking about the microscopic. And when dealing with muscle, the microscopic absolutely represents the macroscopic, the major, the muscle that we look at, okay? There's your tendon. Tone. We'll talk about this here, the whole idea there that are your muscles ever really 100% relaxed? No, they are not. Evolutionarily speaking, you could be sitting here having a cocktail and you're just relaxing, enjoying your Sunday afternoon, and all of a sudden a dinosaur shows up and starts licking his lips and looking right at you. Well, even though your muscles are relaxed and you're enjoying your time, evolutionarily speaking, those muscles are always ready to go. We'll talk more about that there later. It's called muscle tone or muscle tonus. Fibrillation, spontaneous contraction of random groups of muscles. So you see, this is where we're at when we're looking at the macro. There's your bone, periosteum, okay? There's your tendon, and here's your muscle. And by the way, when you eat meat of an animal, you are eating the muscle, okay? And just zooming on in here, the outer covering of the skeletal muscle there, and that's where we're going to focus. You know, I could spend hundreds of hours talking about smooth cardiac skeletal muscle, but I'm not. We're just going to focus on skeletal muscle. As long as you could recognize the differences there between the three, skeletal, smooth, and cardiac, you're doing all right. So the outer covering there of the macro of the muscle there is called the epimysium. You peel that back, and you'll see here the muscle itself, if you do a cross section, is composed of these fascicles. And you bust one of these guys out and pull it out. All right? And then within these fascicles there, you have that was the epimysium. Here we have the perimysium. That is the outer covering there of these fascicles. And then you pull one of these guys out here. These are the muscle fibers, muscle cells. Okay? They are composed there within a fascicle. And you see where the blood is, right? The blood is now at this level. Okay? Oh, muscles require a lot of blood, a lot of oxygen. That's their game, right? So, and you pull out one of these muscle fibers, and then looking at this right here, and I just wanted to show you right here, that's where I'm going to stop with this because I pulled this all out right here. So just the macro view, here's your fascicle. Well, here's your fascicle right here. Okay, so this has just been enlarged. Okay, just for ease of use, right? So there's your perimysium. Okay, and within these fascicles there, you'll see there that we pull out a muscle fiber, muscle cell, and within these muscle fibers there's your endomysium. There's the covering there. So epimysium, perimysium, and endomysium. All right, and then within these guys here, you have the sarcoplasm. I'm just going to zoom in. Okay, So there's your sarcoplasm there within, just cytoplasm, but within a muscle cell. And then you have the sarcolemma. And I want you to think of this as like the wire. Okay, the whole idea there, that electrical impulse comes down from a neuron, right? Zzz. Okay, my brain says I'm going to raise my right hand. Well, how does it do that? The neuron sends the electrical signal has been sent down the neuron, and it reaches the muscle. Well, that electrical signal has to travel along the muscle somehow in order to, electrify it and get that muscle to contract. Well, that travels along the sarcolemma. Okay, and you'll see that it's right underneath the endomysium. All right, so now within a muscle fiber here, you'll see there that if we pull these guys out here, it's called a myofibril. And you'll see what we get here. Sorry for zooming in, zooming out. There we go. You'll see there, you've seen this there before. You may see these striations. This is what gives there the muscle its striated appearance. And we could zoom in even more. Okay. And you'll see there that there are bands, there are lines, dark and light, dark and light. And these are the two filaments there within here that contract over each other. And you see here, we pull these guys out here, and each one of these there is an individual muscle filament. Okay, and just blowing things out. Okay, and you'll see right in here, now we zoom on over to here. This is a myofibril. This is a myofibril. So I've just blown this one up here. And you'll see here, these are those filaments. All right, see them right there. And zooming in again. And there we go. Oh, too far. There we go. That is everything in a nutshell. Okay, well, actually it's not. That's what we're looking at there. But you'll see these fibers. Okay, you have thick filament, which is myosin. And you have thin filament, which is actin. Okay, you don't have to memorize any of this there. Okay, you've just got to be able to retrieve it. And you'll see here that this, one of these units here, okay, from here to here is what we call a sarcomere. Okay, and just another shot of it here in kind of just a different fashion. What you really want to have a look at is right in here. Okay, so here are those myosin thick filament. You see the heads on it? And then you have the actin thin filament. And you'll see what goes on here, that when a muscle is about to contract, okay, or when a muscle does contract, those heads bind to the thin filament. And they kind of pull themselves along so that the end of it here now is over here. Happens the same on this side here. So you'll see that the thin filament, okay, gets pulled in, and you can see here that's how a muscle contracts at the microscopic level. All right, I'm not interested in these H bands and A bands. That's but the whole idea here: thick filament, thin filament, and they pull across each other. Now, going back into here, okay, the myofibril. You remember that word sarcoplasm, sarcolemma? Okay, and the electrical discharge there from a neuron, in order for a muscle to contract, it needs that zzz, okay, and you'll see there that the message gets sent down the sarcolemma of the muscle tissue, okay, from the neuron. And then you'll see this is what we call a T-tubule. And what happens there is that the muscle, if you feel your upper leg muscle, your quadricep, have a feel of it right now. That's a pretty meaty muscle. So the whole idea there that a neuron sends an electrical discharge along the muscle fiber. Now, how is that going to get deep within the muscle? Well, right in here. You'll see these, the electrical discharge will travel along, and then it'll actually go all the way down in here. Okay? And when that happens, you'll see the sarcoplasmic reticulum. That's this blue mesh right in here. Okay, it releases calcium. Oh my gosh, calcium, it's that important. Calcium is involved in muscle firing and neuron firing. Absolutely. So that electrical discharge travels down deep into the muscle where the sarcoplasmic reticulum then releases calcium, and and only in the presence of calcium will this sarcomere contract. Okay, these heads will bind and it'll pull itself all the way over here, does the same here, does the same here, does the same here, right? So now you have full contraction. Without calcium, this whole process stops. The muscle relaxes. Okay? Good stuff. Heavy stuff, but lots of fun. Just another shot of the same thing. Okay, there's your myofibril. Okay, and your myofilaments. And you'll see your thick and thin. Just another shot of the same thing. You didn't like this shot? Well, then here, have a look here. Okay? I'm not interested in A bands, H bands, Z bands. The whole idea there that these a sarcomere goes from Z band to Z band. Not a big deal though. I won't test you on it. Okay. As far as I know, anyway, it's all open book anyway, so maybe I might. All right, here we go. Just another shot of the same thing. Okay, just the whole idea there that the electrical conduction travels along the sarcolemma, goes down a T-tubule, for the sole purpose of reaching the inside deep tissue of the muscle. And the sarcoplasmic reticulum here, which holds calcium, when that comes down, calcium is released and the muscle will contract. Here's a sarcomere, thick filament, myosin, thin filament, actin, rock and roll. I apologize if we seem to be going a little too fast. It's just I was very distraught that video didn't work. So here we go. These myofibrils are bundles of contractile filaments that give skeletal and cardiac muscle their characteristic striated appearance, right? We've already talked about that. There's your actin, okay? And this is your thin filament. And then there's your myosin, which is your thick. On the actin, there are two aspects there that I want you to know. There's tropomyosin and troponin. These are on the thin filament, okay? And can't really see them here, but you will there. These videos are awesome, okay? Like this one here, you could play this video. I don't think that some of them there, the videos didn't come through, but I will include them there in the folder, okay? If they're not already there. So you'll see actin, thin, myosin, thick. On the actin filaments there's tropomyosin and troponin. All right. So when the muscles contract, the whole thing shortens because the individual filaments slide across one another. But the thick and thin filaments do not shorten themselves, right? They stay the same size, but you'll see here that there's space here for this to move. You'll see there for the thin filament there's space in there, okay? This is a good little shot here. You remember I told you the sarcoplasmic reticulum releases calcium. The sarcomere only fires in the presence of calcium. That's true. And you'll see there that you'll see these proteins. Okay, there's troponin and tropomyosin. Okay, they are involved in without calcium, they block the active sites for these heads to reach. So if these heads here are not touching the thin filament, you have no contraction. Okay, in the presence of calcium though, you'll see there that there are binding sites on the thin filament that will be exposed in the presence of calcium, so therefore the heads can reach and pull themselves along. If there is no calcium, those binding sites are blocked and those heads do not touch. So you look here, I don't know why I did that. There we go. And you'll see there that none of these heads are touching. So that means there's no calcium. But you can kind of zoom in and see, I have better shots there, but you'll see there that you have tropomyosin and troponin. And you'll see that all of these binding sites that are on here are currently blocked. But in the presence of calcium, this thin filament, the actin, distorts and exposes those binding sites only in the presence of calcium. So in the presence of calcium, these binding sites are exposed, the heads can attach, and you have muscle contraction. No calcium, those binding sites are blocked. Okay, perfect. Those binding sites are blocked without calcium, so therefore the heads will not bind. Okay. I have lots more slides on that one because this is pretty important stuff. Oh my goodness. Oh, wonderful. Haven't heard from them in days, and all of a sudden they're sending messages back and forth. Wonderful. This is a nice little shot there. There's your neuromuscular junction. There's your neuron coming down. Okay, and the where's my coffee? The electrical conductivity is moving itself down, right? The message is coming down. And in the presence of calcium here again, you'll see there that acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter, is released, okay? And a neurotransmitter is released, and the message then is cascaded onto the muscle surface. There's your sarcolemma. Okay, the message is sent down the neuron, which is then initiated there in the sarcolemma of the muscle, and that travels along the sarcolemma and starts invigorating and starts getting this muscle ready to go. And then the message travels deep into the muscle there through these T tubules, okay, and then which initiates there the release of calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Now, and then you see there that the calcium is released, which then initiates the muscle from, I'm just going to pause this. No, I'm not going to pause it. We're just going to fight through it. Just can't get lucky. All these messages just keep throwing me off. So the electrical distortion travels down deep into the muscle through a T tubule, okay, and then initiates there the sarcoplasmic reticulum there to release calcium. And calcium, what calcium does is it gets this thing going. Okay, and I have some better shots that I'll show you there in a second. Okay, and in the presence of calcium, that sarcomere will contract. Okay, now, as long as there's calcium, the sarcomere will continue to contract. Without calcium, it stops contracting. So that calcium there will be reabsorbed and sent out, reabsorbed and sent out. Look at your fingers. Move your fingers like you're a piano player. Just think of those. Those muscles are contracting and, and regrouping, resetting, and contracting again. So the whole idea that calcium is being sent out and then reabsorbed. Calcium is being sent out, be it reabsorbed. Okay. This is the neuromuscular junction. The whole idea there that the neuron comes down, it does not touch the muscle at all. That neurotransmitter gets released, and then there are binding sites on the muscle surface that receive that, and then the electrical impulse is then cascaded there along the sarcolemma. Okay. You'll see here that the muscle contraction, calcium is stored and is released following membrane excitation. Okay. You'll see here that in this case, okay, there's no calcium. So these heads are not bound. This is the thick filament, myosin. This is the thin filament. And the thin filament, you'll see that all the binding sites are blocked, okay, because there's no calcium. And you can zoom right in and have a look. And you see those, you can actually see little holes there. All of those are blocked because there's no calcium. And in the presence of calcium, you'll see what's going to go on here. Calcium is released. It attaches there to the troponin, and then the tropomyosin distorts. Okay, and those binding sites open up. Therefore, the heads can attach, and then we have muscle contraction. I have other slides here as well. The videos here are mint, so please make sure you watch every single video and to do your best there to understand, all right? Any issues there, always get a hold of me. The role of calcium and ATP. Calcium is stored away from the thin and thick filaments in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. When stimulated, the sarcoplasmic reticulum releases the calcium, right? That energy there from the neuron comes down a T-tubule, stimulating the sarcoplasmic reticulum, which then releases calcium. Calcium allows actin and myosin and ATP to interact, causing muscle contraction. Why does muscle relax? The calcium is reabsorbed by the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Okay? Good. Great video there. This one here shows you the whole idea of the electrical impulse traveling along the sarcolemma and then down into a T-tubule where calcium there is released by the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and then you get muscle contraction. Great video. Have it a watch here. I can't play it there for copyright infringements. All right? I make so much money off my YouTube channel. Whew. Got to keep things clean. Another one here. The video quality isn't great, but it's a good one. Watch this one. It's nice. Here's another one here again. All right, there's your myosin thick filament, actin thin filament. Make sure to give that one a watch. This is a good one here. Just shows you what's going on as far as the electrical conduction. Okay. Here's your nervous system sending an impulse to skeletal muscle, okay? And realize there that if we get like a muscle twitch as opposed to a full muscle contraction, muscle cells contract 100% or 0, okay? We'll get more into that there in the end. Great video. Somatic means body. So a somatic motor neuron. The skeletal muscle contraction only takes place when it is first stimulated there by a nerve. The somatic motor nerve supplies skeletal muscle. Oh my gosh, man, just can't get a break. Emerges there from the spinal cord and travels there to the skeletal muscle. So this is a great little overarch of what's going on. You remember this slide there, the whole idea. Please pause the video, give this a read. It will tell you exactly what we've been talking about there. The whole idea, there's your T-tubule, there's your calcium. Have a read of that. Beautiful slide. Okay? Play with it as much as you like, you know, but follow it along there. Thank you. The all or nothing rule. A strong or weak signal from a nerve will indicate how much of the muscle will fire. The whole idea there that muscle fibers, they fire 100% or 0. There's no 50%. So you're probably thinking, well, if I have a muscle twitch, you know, the whole muscle isn't, you know, firing. That's because the muscle isn't getting enough nerve information. Okay? And sometimes your nerves will just, you know, they will fire. Okay? And in order for a muscle to fully contract, you need a great nervous system message coming, okay? And if you get a weak signal there from the nerve, that's where you get a muscle twitch. You get a strong signal there from the nerve, that's where you get your 100% firing, okay? Impairment of the neuromuscular junction. When we're talking the neuromuscular junction, you will remember that's what we're talking about there. There's a lot going on here. You've got the nervous system, okay, and the message comes down the neuron, okay, and as it comes down, calcium is brought in, which then signals the release of the neurotransmitter. The neurotransmitter then gets released into the gap. There are receptor sites on the muscle, okay, that pick up that neurotransmitter acetylcholine message, and then the message is then cascaded along the sarcolemma. We've talked about that. But there's a lot of moving parts here, okay, and there's lots of room for trouble, okay. Where did I go here? So you talk neurotoxins, okay. Tetanus. Here's Clostridium tetani. Now, you know, you step on a rusty nail. Okay, you need a shot there for tetanus. Lockjaw. Okay. Clostridium botulinum. Okay. And what I want you guys to know, I'm not interested in these names here. What I'm interested there is in this name, botulism. The whole idea there that if you open up a can of soup or beans or whatever and it goes psh, all right, just like opening up a bottle of pop, okay, you need to throw that out immediately, okay? Or if a can looks bloated, distorted, banged any way like that, don't eat from it, okay? The risk is too great because this will kill you, okay? The symptoms there of myasthenia gravis there are caused by damaged receptor sites on the muscle membrane, okay? Again, are caused by damaged receptor sites on the muscle membrane. The receptor sites are altered so that they cannot effectively bind acetylcholine. So that's what we're talking about here, right? Acetylcholine is released. Okay, this disease here, these receptor sites are damaged. Okay, so the message doesn't get from the neuron to the muscle. Okay. Curair works there by blocking the receptor sites on the muscle membrane because the receptors are occupied by the drug. The acetylcholine cannot bind to the receptor sites. Another issue there. There's more. We'll get more into them as we get on. So there's your gravis, and you'll see what's going on. Weakened muscle contraction there because the acetylcholine has trouble binding. Okay. Here's your botulism, where the message doesn't get through at all. Okay, and again, there's your P's. If you see a bloated can or if it goes psh, throw it in the bin. Okay, here's your Curair disease. Okay, again, and then here's your tetanus, lockjaw. Okay, overstimulation here where the muscle there in the jaw will not stop contracting. All right. Moving on here, we're on the tail end. Okay, we'll get into twitch and tetanus. Okay, we're going to identify sources of energy. This is where we're going to get into the whole idea of white meat and dark meat. And then we're going to look at the macro. We're going to look at muscles and like the major muscle groups, quadricep, you know, latimus dorsi, these kinds of things here. So there's that tone or muscle tonus. Even when your muscles are 100%, or even when your muscles are relaxed, they're never 100% relaxed. And it's the whole point. You're sitting here having a cocktail, you know, you got an umbrella in your drink, and you're just enjoying the day. And your muscles there, they feel soft and squishy, and they're, you know what I mean? You don't have a care in the world. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there could be a threat to your life. Let me tell you something. Your muscles are always ready to go. You remember those, the actin and myosin, the thin and thick filaments there? Okay, I want to go back to this one. Yeah, you see this one here. And in this case here, this appears to be relaxed muscle because none of the heads are bound to the actin. Okay, and you've watched the videos by now. You know exactly where you're on the same page as I am. Okay, so relaxed muscle, the heads are not bound to the thin filament. The thick is not bound to the thin filament. But some heads are always bound. Like maybe 2 or 3 heads here, maybe 1 or 2 here, 3 or 4 here, 2 or 3 there, and then they release and other ones will attach. And these ones here will release and other ones. So at always at some point in time there are some heads that are attached. And this is an evolutionary adaptation of ours. Because if our muscles were just completely relaxed all the time, and a threat posed itself, as the uncertainty of nature does, then that organism will be dead. Okay? Those muscles have to be able to react at a second's notice. So even though you feel your muscle now and you're sitting in your chair and you're having a cup of coffee and you're relaxed, there are some of those heads that are attached. And just for the very fact that a raptor or a dinosaur or a wolf or a falling building, anything could happen, that therefore we will need our muscles to work in a fraction of a second or we will die. Okay? So that's called muscle tonus. Okay, or muscle tone. When the muscles are relaxed, there's always some myosin heads binding and releasing actin, so the muscles are never 100% relaxed. Keeps muscles somewhat firm. This is called muscle tonus. Important for preventing our muscles from overstretching, and it helps maintain posture and balance when we are moving. Also good if a bear is chasing us or decides to eat us. Muscle responses there, you've got a twitch, which is a single muscle response in which muscles contract and then fully relax. You have muscle tetanus, sustained muscle contraction caused by repeated stimulus. So this one here, calcium is never reabsorbed. Calcium is just maintained, 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 maintained. And so therefore we are able to do a flexed arm hang, right? And then there's your muscle tonus, normal continuous state of partial muscle contraction. Good. Myoglobin versus hemoglobin. This is blood. This is for blood. This is how oxygen is carried from the outside to the inside. Well, this is one of the insides. And the whole idea, you want to go back into an evolutionary adaptation. You know, our muscles are never fully relaxed, right? Because of those heads, muscle tonus. Well, what if, you know, we're sitting there having a cocktail and, you know, a T-Rex shows up and wants to, you know, licking his lips. All right, right at me. Okay, well, I'm just sitting here. I've been relaxing all day. Don't worry about it. Your muscles have an oxygen and sugar supply. It's not a huge amount. It's not going to, you know, you're not going to be able to run from here to Toronto, all right? But they have enough to get you out of danger. And you got to think they're like a 100-meter sprinter. They don't go into oxygen debt per se, right? A 100-meter sprinter will utilize all of the oxygen and all of the sugar in their muscles, okay? I think it's by, you know, the 92nd or 95th meter, somewhere in there, okay? That's what's going. So hemoglobin delivers oxygen to the cells of the muscle called myoglobin, and myoglobin stores that oxygen, okay? Both are proteins there that contain iron. Hemoglobin is present inside red blood cells and delivers oxygen to tissues. We know that. Myoglobin found in the muscle and supplies with oxygen in stressful situations. So it's kind of like an oxygen storage tank, all right, for stressful situations. That's good. Energy source there for muscle contraction. We're going to tread very lightly on these, okay? Though I didn't go into, you know, the whole idea of Krebs cycle, glycolysis, the electron transport chain, how we actually make ATP from our food. It's not really a huge focus of this course, okay? But I just wanted to show you there. And again, I want you to think white meat and dark meat, all right, on a chicken. All right, and you know, you look at the breast meat, that's your white meat. You look at the legs, the thighs, the wings, okay, There's your dark meat. All right. And that's what, and I want you to think of terms of aerobic with oxygen and anaerobic without. When we get into the whole idea there, you look at white meat and dark meat. Dark meat has blood vessels, and you can even kind of relate it there to a cow or any type of herbivore animal there. The legs, they're the heavy, slow, load-bearing muscles. Legs don't get tired. You can walk for 20 kilometers. You can. We do it all day long, moving from here to the calf, over to M building and E building and all this kind of stuff. You probably walk 3 or 4 kilometers a day, just even in a school, getting from one class to another. And so you think there that these heavy load-bearing muscles, they're dark meat, lots of blood. They need lots of oxygen. They can handle it. They've got to go all day long. Dark meat, lots of blood, lots of oxygen. Now think of white meat there on a chicken. There you're talking the breast meat. Okay, breast meat there, white meat. There's no blood in there at all. Chickens can't fly. They can if there's a predator or something, they can jump up onto a branch 10, 12 feet in the air, but that's it. They don't have that longevity. So the white meat has very, very little blood supply. So oxygen doesn't mean anything. These muscles can't handle the longevity that the dark meat muscles can. Okay? And interesting. And that's about as far as I'll go into it for sure. We could spend years talking about this slide, and I ain't doing it. Welcome to the macro muscle anatomy. Number of muscles, over 600. Largest, there's the bum, gluteus maximus. Okay. Smallest muscle, stapedius, there in the middle of the ear. Longest muscle, sartorius, goes from the hip to the knee. Muscle terminology, we've heard these two before, origin and insertion. Origin, the end of the muscle that does not move. Insertion, the end of the muscle that does move. Okay, when we're talking about contraction. The belly, that's just the middle, that's the meaty part there. Okay. Now, these are interesting words that we use there when we're defining muscles and terminology. If you're going to do a bicep curl, okay, you've got 2 dumbbells, and if you don't know what a bicep curl is, go to Google and have a look at it, right? But the whole idea there is you've got a weight in your hand and you're flexing your bicep, right? You're pulling that barbell up and down, up and down. Now, what exercise are you doing? Well, I'm doing a bicep curl. Okay, so what is the prime mover? What is, and we also say the agonist. Okay, what is the prime mover? What is the main muscle group that you are doing? Oh, well, if I'm doing a bicep curl, then the prime mover is the bicep. Sure it is, right? You're kind of pulling. You're pulling that barbell up towards your shoulder. You're curving your arm inward. Okay, the prime mover is the main muscle that you are looking at that performs the contraction. The antagonist is the opposite. Now, what is the opposite muscle to the bicep? Well, look on the backside of your arm. You have a tricep. And you see, while the bicep is involved in pulling, the tricep is involved in pushing. So you'll see there that prime movers, also called your agonist, that's the main muscle group that's working the action. Their muscles will always have an antagonist, an opposite muscle. Okay, in the leg, you have the quadricep on the front. On the back side of your leg, you have the hamstrings. The quadricep is involved in flexing there the front of the leg. The hamstring curls it back in on the back side. Now, when you're talking, let's go back to the bicep curl. You're doing some bicep curls. Is the bicep the only muscle there that's working? No. your feet, your back, your gluteus maximus, your shoulder muscles, all these other muscles are working to facilitate the prime mover, the muscle there that performs the contraction, right? Okay. Now, these other muscles there, they're involved in stabilizing the body, allowing the prime mover to work. So there's fixator muscles, okay? Synergist here, control, stabilize joints involved in the action for the prime mover. Okay, so there are other muscles involved, okay, besides the prime mover. All right. So during a bicep curl, the bicep is contracting and shortening, while the tricep must be relaxing and elongating. Good. Have a look at those. Hope it makes sense. If it doesn't, get a hold of me. Muscle overuse and underused terms. Atrophy. You think there, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the whole idea of building muscle. Well, you remember these guys here? What's that, slide 39? Yeah, right here. Here's your thick and thin, right? Here's your sarcomere. Now, the whole idea of Arnold Schwarzenegger building muscle. Okay, we're not talking about the steroids. Don't ever do steroids, by the way. You look at this here, the sarcomere, the contractile unit of a muscle. Now, if you're going to build muscle, well, you go to the gym and you exercise and you lifting weights and you're lifting weights. What's the whole point? Is that eventually these muscle fibers will, they'll just destroy, they'll get ripped and they'll just explode. They're right there in your bicep on a small level, right? And you see, if you go home and you eat a good meal, you get good sleep, what happens there while you sleep? Your body will repair these muscle fibers there, and it will remember there that yesterday you damaged them. So you know what? We need to build more and more and more. And over the course of a year or 2 or 3, that's how you build muscle. You have to destroy muscle to build more muscle. Okay? Where was that? Was it here? No. Good. Okay, so that's where we're at. Atrophy. If you don't use your muscle, your body will take it away. And that's the thing, is that if you're going to build muscle, you have to use it or your body will take it away, because your body's very efficient. If you're not using something, the body thinks, why am I investing energy and ATP and sugar and all these life expenditures if you're not using what the body is giving? So if you don't use it, the body will take it away. It's called atrophy, muscle atrophy. If you have a cast on your leg for 3 months because you broke your leg, you at the end of 3 months there, you bust your leg out, your bone is fine, but you ain't got any muscle left because you haven't used them in 3 months. So now you have to rebuild that muscle again. Hypertrophy, okay, growth in response to overuse. Building muscle, contracture there, abnormal fibrous formations of muscle that freeze in a flexed position. Not so worried about this one here, but I love that one right there. How skeletal muscles are named. Oh, there's lots of rhymes and reasons to this one. Wait until you know your calf muscle, your gastrocnemius. Yeah, we'll get into that one there in a second. Strange. They can be named by size, gluteus maximus. By shape, trapezius. Okay. Orientation of the fibers, rectus abdominis. Okay. Location, pectoralis. I have more of these that I'll show you here. It'll make a little bit more sense in a second. Number of origins. What's an origin? The immovable side. Bicep. How many origins? 2. Tricep. How many origins? 3. Yeah, origin and insertion here. Okay, try reading that one there. Sternocleidomastoid. Okay, muscle actions. Now that's by the sternum. I'll show you that there in a second. Muscle action, adductors as opposed to abductors. Okay, there's a really interesting gym machine there that's at most high-end gyms there. Works your abductors and your adductors. I'll show you those in 2 shakes. Again, muscle named by definition. They can be named by function. Okay, here we have the levator scapula. Raises the scapula. Extensor digitorum. You can see there. Extends the fingers and toes. Muscles can be named by attachment. Okay, there's your sternocleidomastoid. Okay, and sternocleidostoid. But what do we got here? Same one, right? You have a read of that one. The whole idea, there's your sternum, your clavicle, and your mastoid process there. Sternohyoides, okay, your hyoid bone. There's only 2 bones in the body, which we'll get into which we've done bone already, but the whole idea there's 2 bones in the body there that don't articulate. Great word, articulate. Means joint. There's 2 bones there that don't really articulate with any other bones there, and that's the kneecap and the hyoid bone there. We'll show you those. It can be named by position and shape. Rectus femoris, straight. Serratus anterior, serratus sawtooth. External oblique, outside there. Even they can be figurative, and this one here blows my mind. The gastrocnemius, that's your calf muscle. Okay, somebody there thought it resembled a stomach, so they named it the gastrocnemius. I don't get it, but I am just the messenger. Trapezius there resembles a tablet. Deltoid there of the shoulder. Okay, remember resembles their delta or a triangle. All right, let's get into it here. All of these here, okay, I'm not going to go too crazy on all of these, okay, but they're just to show you, what we've got going on here. There's your gastrocnemius, okay, your soleus, and these are all good to go. And as we said there, it's not, you don't have to memorize any of these, okay, but we're not going to go too crazy because it's not really the point of this course. Muscles of the face, though, any of these here that you'll see, I do like. Okay, any ones there that have been highlighted, they're fair game for sure. Okay, so muscles of the face, we have over 60. We have about 60 muscles in our face there. It allows us to make facial expressions. You remember the origin and insertion. Okay, the whole idea that one part of the muscle does not move, the other part moves. Right, the other part attaches there to a bone. Well, there are no bones on our skin. And in order for our face to make facial expressions there, the insertion part of the muscles there of the face, they attach to the skin. And that's what allows us there to make our facial expressions. Just a little point to note, it takes 40 muscles to frown and only 20 to smile. So take a load off and relax and just smile. We're able to make facial expressions because the insertions of many of our muscles are connected there to our skin, not a bone. Facial muscles are used for chewing. The medical word for chewing is called mastication, M-A-S-T. Mastication means to chew. Open, close the eyes, raise the eyebrows. Facial muscles here, we've got the frontalis, the obiculus oris. That one there, we're involved in kissing. Obicularis oculi. Okay, that's involved with the eyes. You can have a look. Here's buccinator. There we're talking cheeks. Let's have a look, shall we? Sternocleidomastoid there. Scalene muscles, there are 3. Trapezius, this is muscles there in the neck. Let's have a look. So, these are all good to go. There's your obicularis oris, obicularis oculi. Okay, there's your buccinator. Okay, buccal means cheek. All right, and you can have a look here. They're all here. They're all beautiful muscles. Muscles of the trunk, breathing. We've got intercostal muscles there. There's an internal and external. Okay, your diaphragm, love this one here. It's a bell-shaped muscle at rest. And you'll see what goes on here when you take a breath. It flattens out. And then And you see here, it turns into a bell shape. And then when you're breathing in air, it dips down, increasing the volume of your chest cavity. And then when you want to blow air out, it decreases the volume of your chest cavity. Okay? Muscles of the trunk, abdominal wall, and vertebral column. Okay, you can have a look here. Internal obliques, external obliques, transversus abdominis, rectus abdominis, vertebral column, erecta spinae. Okay, trapezius, abdominal muscles. And you'll see here that when we get into the back, I'm just going to jump to the back here. Do I have the... You'll see there that the back is lots of different muscle here. And what I mean by thick, there's muscle everywhere. Okay, you got big, meaty muscles here like the latimus dorsi, but then underneath you have these little tiny muscles there. And when you're picking up anything off the floor, please, 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 please bend your knees. Okay? Because it's those tiny little muscles that are underneath all of this. See, look at all the different layers. Okay? And you have these tiny muscles underneath there that are there for stabilizing. And if you pick up, you bend over, straight-legged, bending over, picking something up, bend your knees, please. Okay? You don't want any type of lumbar damage. But you'll see here, this is all good to go. Latimus dorsi, that's these ones here. Huge, meaty muscles there at the side. Your deltoid here is your shoulder. Trapezius here at the back. Your rotator cuff, okay, is made of these three muscles there. Supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and teres minor. Okay, your rhomboids here, they're in the center of your back there on either side of your spine. Okay, just jumping back here to the front. This is the front of the trunk. Okay, again, there's your deltoid. There's your pectoralis major. You'll see the minor is underneath. Okay, external obliques here. Okay, look really great in a bathing suit. Wish I had them. Internal obliques on the inside and your rectus abdominis here. Here's your abdominal wall. Internal intercostals, external intercostals. These ones here involved in breathing as well. Okay. Yeah. Muscles of the forearm, bicep brachii, tricep brachialis, and all these ones here. I don't want to get too crazy into all of these here. You guys could have a look at them here. And what I really wanted to show you here was carpal tunnel syndrome. The whole idea there, that repetitive motion, okay, and even clicking a mouse. People who work in offices for 8 hours a day, they're clicking a mouse. And what'll happen is they've actually designed these mouse pads that have a little raised portion on them to help people not get carpal tunnel syndrome. Here, okay, there's your median nerve, and there can be trouble going on with repetitive actions. Okay, over the course of a long time, a couple years, and there you go, carpal tunnel syndrome. Muscles of the thigh. Gluteus maximus, medius minimus here. Better if we just show you these ones right here. This is the anterior portion there of the leg. Here's your kneecap. Here's your hip. There's your spinal column there. This is the quadricep. Quad, right? Bicep, 2 origin. Tricep, 3. Quadricep there, you got 4, right? And you'll see there the rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus intermedius, vastus medialis. Okay? There's your sartorius there. See, it stretches all the way up from the pelvic girdle and actually comes on down and attaches there to the patellar ligament. Okay, there's your kneecap, patella. Okay, hip flexors there, psoas major and the iliacus up in here. I love these ones right here, sartorius for sure. Posterior of the leg, there's the gluteus maximus. And to counter, right, the quadricep, antagonist to the quadricep is the hamstring. And you'll see the muscles involved there with the hamstring. Okay. Gastrocnemius, supposedly looks like a stomach. Gastro, I don't see it. And the soleus, okay. This muscle here that just a little bit inferior there to the gastrocnemius. It's a tough one there to exercise. You can do calf raises there for your gastrocnemius standing up, but you need to sit down and do calf raises to get the soleus to work. Oh, and I love this one here. You saw this there last week there, the calcaneus. Okay, that's the back of the foot. Calcaneal tendon, also called the Achilles tendon. That one gets cut, you're not walking anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize there for the abridged version, the shortened version. I'm sure last week's, if you attended, was much better than this one here. But this is what I'm going to post there for this week, or sorry, for last week. This is week 6, okay? But and now I'm gonna make a week 7 video soon. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you guys later.